Welcome to War Room Impeachment. It's the 15th of November, the year of our Lord 2019. It's the evening show, a wrap-up of today's activities. Episode 31. Want to welcome America's Voice.news, which is an online news streaming service that has us on live today in a practice run. I want to thank the guys at America's Voice. They've been down at the wall with us, where we built the wall down to stop the cartels outside of Juarez, Mexico. I want to thank those folks a lot. They'll be every day, every episode will be live on America's Voice. Also want to thank the John Fredericks Radio Network. We're on John Fredericks Radio Network. We are also going to be picked up starting Monday evening by Salem Radio and the massive Salem Radio Network, which is the leading voice in conservatism and populism throughout the country and the voice of the Trump movement. We're all going to be on there. Second half of the show today, we're going to be honored to be joined by Congressman Debbie Lesko. She's a congressman from Arizona, member of the House Freedom Caucus. In fact, she's the only, I believe, female member of the House Freedom Caucus. And with Andy Biggs and Congressman Gosar put together a strong congressional delegation out in Arizona. And she's a fighter, and she's coming in today because I think she's not happy today. And let's talk about this. I got my two wingmen, Raheem Kassam, who was the wingman for Nigel Farage in the United Kingdom. He's run war rooms for Brexit, managing editor of Breitbart London, and also Jason Miller, who was the comms strategist director for the Trump campaign, greatest comeback from behind in American political history. Kind of started when Jason got there, and was also the transition comms director. Jason, your assessment of the day.
So what the heck happened today? I mean, we had the tweet, the chaos, the so-called witness intimidation, the jumbled game plan, Burisma nomination prep, the fallout, and where are our allies? So no spin. We want to dive into exactly where we are.
We got to dive into
unpack
it. The cabinet secretary the other day said that came in and said this is a war of attrition now. They didn't get a knockout punch on day one. In fact, Raheem brought up an astute observation. You couldn't find anything about day one on Thursday. They buried it, right? And now today they came in with the therapeutic society, the empathy vote. So, Raheem, I want to go to you. I think it's very important for the audience. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a clip that I think was a centerpiece of what happened today. Raheem, why don't you tee it up? Let's play it, and then we can have some observations.
Yeah, well, as people who are watching will know, and those who weren't watching should pay very close attention to, President Trump did tweet this morning during the original opening statement from Marie Yovanovitch, the ousted Ukrainian ambassador, during her testimony, and to sort of underscore
what's the time of that tweet? How far did we get into the testimony until he tweeted?
Oh, it was not very long in, 15 minutes.
15
yeah.
He had heard the resume and had about enough, right?
Yeah.
Jason, you've been there.
Yeah, and I think it was very clear what we saw happening is that the Democrats immediately went to laying out this pathway for the former ambassador to talk about how she was aggrieved, to talk about her foreign policy worldview, to talk about how she was intimidated, to talk about literally their counsel went to her feelings. And
well, you said on this morning show, we said this was going to be, it was about empathy, it was about feelings, about she was intimidated, yeah. Right? That we knew that they were going to play that. And in fact, right after this tweet, on the Daily Mail, the largest site in the world and one that reaches the low information voters, it's not a political site, it had, I was intimidated, right? In bold headlines with a picture of her sitting there.
Shall we hear what Marie Yovanovitch had to say?
Yes.
Ambassador Yovanovitch, as we sit here testifying, the president is attacking you on Twitter, and I'd like to give you a chance to respond. I'll read part of one of his tweets. Everywhere Marie Yovanovitch went turned bad. She started off in Somalia. How did that go? He goes on to say later in the tweet, is a U.S. president's absolute right to appoint ambassadors. First of all, Ambassador Yovanovitch, the Senate has a chance to confirm or deny an ambassador, do they not?
Yes, advise and consent.
But would you like to respond to the president's attack that everywhere you went turned bad?
Well, I don't think I have such powers, not in Mogadishu, Somalia, and not in other places. I actually think that where I've served over the years, I and others have demonstrably made things better, for the U.S. as well as for the countries that I've served in. Ukraine, for example, where there are huge challenges, including, on the issue that we're discussing today of corruption. Huge challenges. But they've made a lot of progress since 2014, including in the years that I was there. And I think in part, the Ukrainian people get the most credit for that. But a part of that credit goes to the work of the United States and to me as the ambassador in Ukraine.
Ambassador, you've shown the courage to come forward today and testify. Notwithstanding the fact you were urged by the White House or State Department not to, notwithstanding the fact that, as you testified earlier, the president implicitly threatened you in that call record, and now the president in real time is attacking you. What effect do you think that has on other witnesses' willingness to come forward and expose wrongdoing?
Well, it's very intimidating.
It's designed to intimidate, is it not?
I can't speak to what the president is trying to do, but I think the effect is to be intimidating.
Steve.
No, you go ahead. I want to hear from you.
Well, we said yesterday, in fact, I think we said the day before yesterday, we said yesterday also, and we said this morning that a lot of this testimony was going to be focused on Marie Yovanovitch's feelings, how she felt after being dismissed 90 days early than when she was going to leave her post anyway. And a lot of the questions on the run-up to that moment were surrounding Marie Yovanovitch's feelings. Other members of the committee said to her, how do you feel about the way you've been treated? How do you feel about being dismissed? How do you feel about this so-called smear campaign against you? And so it was almost like the president gave them the crescendo moment that they were looking for in terms of the emotive feedback.
Do you agree with that? By the way, we also have for our viewers at americasvoice.news, we also have in the room, in the house, is Alexander Preet, our comms director, Dan Fluitt, our producer, and over in the corner somewhere, being very quiet, Matthew Tierman. Is that true? Did he attack her? Was this witness intimidation? Did he play into their hands?
Well, two things can be true at the same time, as I probably say every day, several times a day. President Trump was not attacking her. Everything he said there was accurate. President Trump has the right to defend himself in an inherently political event such as this impeachment witch hunt going on.
You're saying this is not a court of law?
Correct. And I'm saying
so you can't intimidate a witness?
Exactly. He has every right to defend himself. At the same time,
should there not be the killer? Should there not be people up there that are going to defend him? Is he forced to defend himself? Aren't there supposed to be people up there that he knows and feels comfortable with that are automatically going to step in here and defend him? There
should have been. And we saw a moment where Congresswoman Stefanik tried to jump in and ask a question, and Chairman Schiff, the Democrat, went and shot her down. I think we could have even had more. I think whether it be Nunes.
You think Nunes should have backed off then, or should you let Stefanik keep asking the question?
Power through and have Elise just continue hammering it, because it's a made-for-cameras moment. I mean, what are they going to do? Come in and holler her out in handcuffs? So if I were Nunes, I would have pushed back and said, no, let's have this knockdown right here. But Steve, the point that I'm making is President Trump had every right to go and do that, especially when he didn't see folks standing up for him in the way that he would have liked. But at the same time, we did walk into their feelings trap, because as we saw, then Schiff did his dramatic break and going. So then he knew all the cameras, all the talking heads would then talk about witness intimidation.
It was a firestorm on CNN.
It was a firestorm. And they just, what were they doing? They're probably in the back, like, eating sandwiches and with their feet kicked up and laughing about how we walked into this. But both things can be true here.
Did Schiff understand the drama of the moment, and that's why he went to the break?
Yeah, I mean, it was good for as many things that I've clowned on Schiff for doing. I thought he played this moment extremely well. And from that point on, everyone then immediately goes to their ideological and partisan camps. Democrats doing their Trump hating thing, but here's the deal on the Republicans. the Republicans up there, Jim Jordan's and Devin Nunes and Ratcliffe, I think are solid Trump folks who understand what's going on. Most of the other folks up there didn't know how to react. They didn't how to. I thought, even though I praised Steve Castor, who's the Minority Staff Counsel the other day, it did not look to me like he was ready. Even though they knew that the back and forth with Stefanik would lead to her not being able to speak, it didn't look to me like he was ready.
Did not just the tweet, but the way that Schiff came in and read the tweet live, got the response, and then essentially went to break. That was commanding. That was having the sense of the dramatic to take it and throw us off our game.
Yeah, because then it all became about this entire new angle of this witness intimidation. Keep in mind, we had been hammering Schiff and the Democrats for witness tampering before. All the work the majority staff had been doing. So we had them on the ropes on that issue, but now they'd turned it around on us.
How do you intimidate a witness if the witness isn't going to see the tweet unless Adam Schiff reads the tweet to her?
Well, and this is right. This is the exact
Schiff facilitated
point.
that.
Genius point.
Yes. No. And Raheem, you're 100% right.
That's
and
right.
that's
That was
that's
wondering
where
at the
it
time.
was. It was a great move by strategic move by Schiff to go and do this, because when you how do you get a headline saying witness intimidation? You say witness intimidation 30 times in a 30-minute block. That's how you get that headline. They start throwing out the allegations. The allegations then end up on CNN, the Washington Post, New York Times, over and over. They're basically writing their own headlines when they do that.
Also, as you say, there wasn't anything non-factual about what the president
No,
said.
she didn't.
There were statements of fact, perhaps slightly opinionated in, that she made everywhere worse that she went. But hey, that's not telling her to shut up. It's not a threat. It's not intimidation by any stretch of the imagination. And the other thing about this is, I don't blame the president for standing up for himself when you have some. And I said I think he did a decent job, but Castor's line of questioning was quite dry. It was more of an establishing of a pattern of behavior and a pattern of facts, rather than it was any go-getcha moments like we saw from Elise Stefanik today.
Well, the content of what she's talking about, is it particularly relevant to the issue at hand? I mean, he has the right, and I think they said it the wrong way, obviously you have advice and consent by the Senate, so they have to be confirmed, right? Unless they're politicals that are not politicals, but they're careers that are held over, like she was. But he has the absolute right to terminate any ambassador that he wants, for essentially any reason he wants. I mean, this is
no reason at all.
No reason at all. This is why we had Reince Priebus, the chief of staff, who handled this all the time.
And one thing, obviously, it's a 3-year term that she will usually they stay there about 3 years.
Yes.
So she left or was recalled 90 days early. And as they pointed out today, that was also tied to when Zelensky came in. So it made perfect sense to do that transition then when you had a new Ukraine president.
There was an interesting nugget buried in there today about her being asked. The point was mooted with her as to whether or not she might consider staying on, and that's potentially why she's got the grump about being dismissed, because perhaps she had designs on another 3 years there, and it sounds like she did.
Was the game plan going in jumbled? I want to get to Stefanik and some highlights that really we showed well, right? And here on War Room Impeachment, what we're trying to do is do both the big strategic picture, but get down into the details, because it's the details, I think, that drives the daily narrative. And remember, in a war of attrition, you got to win more days than you lose, right? And particularly, you want to have more ties than losses. So why do you say the game plan was jumbled from the beginning, or kind of out of focus?
So going into this, Republicans wanted to make the following points: that Yovanovitch had no insight into anything. I think that came across again today. She left 2 months before the call with Zelensky and Trump, and only 90 days before her term was over. She admitted that President Trump was stronger in helping Ukraine than Obama was.
I thought this was important, right? I mean, everything that she had wanted for the Ukraine, really President Trump kind of changed the direction and really, stepped up.
Exactly. And the whole missiles versus blankets thing, where Obama sent them blankets, we sent them Javelin missiles. And she testified that it's okay for the U.S. to tie anti-corruption efforts to foreign aid, just as Congress lays out in the NDAA. So this was the game plan for Republicans. And I think once essentially the messaging hand grenade got thrown into the mix, they didn't know how to react. They didn't know how to respond.
Well, they did respond one way, and they looked like they got more flowery. right? Everything was, I mean, it was a much softer pedal towards her,
Yeah,
right?
so every single answer then became 30 seconds of "I respect you so much,"
Right.
And then by the time they got to it, like people are already changing the channel. It's like, look, none of your constituents back home are going to be like, you know what, Congressman, that was a fantastic 20 to 30-second ramble about how much you respect her service. No one cares about that. Get to the issue. Because here's, Steve, where I'm, Raheem and Alexander and folks here, why I'm so fired up. We talked about the feeling aspect this morning in the show, and Steve, you kind of jumped on me for a second there. But look, the Democratic Counsel Goldman started off asking about her feelings.
Yes.
And then he later said, he paused, did the dramatic moment, which he's very good. He's a killer.
Yes,
he
he's
prosecutes
good,
all
strong.
these people.
Yes.
But he says, I don't want to upset you too much before asking this question. All going to the feeling. And then you had Congresswoman Sewell jump in and say, I want to know about you personally. I want to know how this affected you personally. Those are direct quotes. I just added the dramatic interpretation. And it almost brought...
That was good, but look, the Democrats knew what they knew what they were doing. They were laying this out, right? For,
Yes,
for
but then-
particularly for a low information
But then
audience.
Yovanovitch-
For people that are normally watching soaps, they're cutting on here. They can empathize.
And Yovanovitch makes it personal in her response. She talks about getting kneecapped, which the only other person besides me that says that all the time. She talks about how foreign policy was being hijacked. She threw out the dramatic question about which country's interests were at stake here. That's where we got into the point that this is about foreign policy. She doesn't believe in what America First and what President Trump's doing, and just her feathers were ruffled because she got recalled early.
We talk about people stepping up and making plays, right? That you got to make some plays here. Stefanik, I think, has been very impressive. Now, she kind of took the neocon point of view in her questioning the other day, but she's sharp. She's on point. One of the moments in this, and I think we could have reversed things. And I have tremendous admiration for Devin Nunes, but he's used to running something on intelligence down in the Schiff with highly classified information, and they're more or less trying to work together. Here, this is an impeachment panel in the glare of global television. Let's go. I want to go first to the moment when she started questioning and Schiff cut her off on a technicality. Was that a moment we could have powered through that, or do you think they did the right thing of going back to Nunes?
Look, I think the one of the biggest moments today was, look, there's an elephant in the room. Let's address it. Yovanovitch was played with kid gloves by a lot of the Republicans today because she's a woman. Okay, they simply wouldn't have treated a man like that, and a man wouldn't have gone in there, I hope, and gone, I'm intimidated, I'm scared, I feel threatened. And Media Matters can write what they want about me for saying that. But they didn't play the same with Stefanik. You know, the way Adam Schiff treated Stefanik was total equality, what you would hope for, and what you would expect for, in total adversarial mode.
I'm supposed to play devil's. I'm playing devil's advocate here. The president, for as much as Taylor and Kent came at him the other day, right? Am I wrong in that? They came at him and essentially, I think, called him a liar several times, right? He didn't go after them personally. He went after Ambassador Yovanovitch, and they did it in the first 15 or 20 minutes.
Look, I think he's using the same tone all the way through. I think he's blaming everyone that should be blamed for decades-long foreign policy disasters. I didn't see anything from the president that I think he wouldn't have applied to the other people. If you can give me a specific, then I'll address it, but I don't think that's true.
Was he watching today and the other days he was with Erdogan?
He might have been. That might have been the case. He might have been watching. You think that's what you think is the
That's what we
fact? The
have
difference.
people
You think the difference is he's watching, and
So-
that before he was tied up on a business of being commander in chief.
You know, one of the first things I was told when I was joining the Trump campaign is take everything that you know from your 20 years of politics and throw it out the window.
Yep.
And then ask
New
the
playbook.
question. Right. And then I'm like, well, then why do you want me here? Like, well, because you're going to have to learn how to adapt, and you can adapt. And so when I look through this, okay, the strategy of what President Trump is doing, well, I think what President Trump saw was that nobody was going after her for her record, that they were treating her
Yes.
with such kid gloves that they were allowing the fact that everywhere she's gone has been a disaster, the fact that she doesn't believe in President Trump's America First foreign policy, that he wanted to go right at that issue. So what's going to happen here is the media is going to completely overreact, and they're going to just spend all their time talking about this exchange or this tweet, and then the media will be so harsh that then Trump allies, I think, will rally around and say, you know, the media is out of control, and they'll be locked in with us. But that was my read of it.
Let's go to. I want to go back to Stefanik. Stefanik had a key moment there. Congressman Stefanik had a key moment when she went and started drilling down on the ambassador's practice for a confirmation hearing. when she talked about Hunter Biden. You agree that was very key?
Well, this was the moment that really stood out today. As far as I was concerned, the one killer moment that the Republicans got was when Elise Stefanik proceeded to walk people through what the Republicans had learned during the deposition. Things that had come to light about whether or not the Biden investigation, the Burisma Hunter Biden prosecutor investigation that we've long not heard enough about was actually closed. And we learned today that the investigation wasn't actually closed, which is Joe Biden's defense against all this. What happens with the investigation, it was made clear today, was that it was, to use Yovanovitch's words, on pause. And she said there's a difference between closed and on pause. They effectively took the Ukrainians out and they were doing their own investigation into this.
Does this show that, has Biden been lying on the campaign trail? Has he been spinning this and she outed him today? And that was a great line of questioning from Congressman Stefanik?
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that the ambassador was so jammed up about the fact that she was prepped on this very issue as part of her nomination process, I think shows that the previous administration was really concerned about Hunter Biden, about why was he getting between 50 and 83 grand a month for nothing.
We are live on americasvoice.net, also on the John Fredericks Radio Network, and on our podcast. We got bonus time. Congressman Debbie Lesko stepped in here early. I want to thank you very much. We're going to go to a short break here in a minute. But your quick observations overall of how you think the day went.
I think it was a really bad day for the Democrats and a bad day for Joe Biden. I mean, all of this was a woman.
You don't think it was a bad day for us?
No.
Why?
No, not at all. All you had was a woman who had hurt feelings over being fired. And, you had the call between Trump and Zelensky, where Zelensky said he had concerns about her, that he thought that she was supportive of the previous president and not him. So Trump has every right to hire and fire anybody he wants, but certainly there was a good cause.
What did you spend time actually in the room? Tell us where you were today.
Yes, I was. I was not one of the committee members on the Intelligence Committee, but I was sitting in the room. There was Democrats and Republicans, and sitting kind of right behind Mark Meadows and some other good Republicans. I could see it from there. I could hear it from there. I was there also on the previous hearing, and that one was really boring, I have to tell you.
This is a little more dramatic.
Like super boring.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break to pay some bills here. Stephen K. Bannon, Raheem Kassam, Jason Miller, honored to be joined by a member of the House Freedom Caucus. We love the fighters. Congressman Debbie Lesko is going to be with us when we return after a short 2019, the year of our Lord. Episode 31. Got a little feedback there. Gone. Thank you, producer Dan. Okay, we're live on America's Voice.News, live streaming today for the first time. A little test run here. We go hard live on that on Monday. Also, Salem Radio Network will pick this up on Monday evening. We're on all of the podcasts, Stitcher, everything. We're going to be picking KSLM in Portland, Oregon, 104.3 FM, 1220 AM. At 9 a.m. in the morning, WTHR 93.3 in suburban St. Louis and Ramsey, Illinois. Also in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Freedom AM 1570 at 8 p.m. at night. And then KOXE 101.7 FM in Little Rock, Arkansas, 8 p.m. We'll be announcing many, many more channels besides our Salem Radio Network next week as we go nationwide. And that we're honored to have not just Raheem Kassam and Jason Miller, my two wingmen, but also Congressman Debbie Lesko from Arizona. She is a member of the House Freedom Caucus, and I believe the only female member of the House Freedom. That makes you a tough hombre. That's a tough.
I'm a tough broad.
We're lucky to have you.
Well, let's talk about toughness today. And we said about this, the therapeutic. And I don't want we're not denigrating her patriotism or her service to the country. Okay, but as you saw this today, put it in perspective, and particularly there's obviously a sensitivity, Raheem said it earlier, about attacking a woman, and do you think it was teed up to emphasize that for the Democrats?
Oh, well, yes. I mean, as I sat there, I thought, well, why are we even here? Why are we even here talking about this woman who is fired, who can be fired for any reason? And the Democrats are saying, well, what did you think? How did you feel about being fired? And what did you think when you saw the transcript that said that the President Trump, was disparaging to you? Well, who cares? We're talking about impeachment here of the President of the United States. Since when is it an impeachable offense to hurt somebody's feelings?
And she's a pro that's worked in Somalia. She's worked in some tough areas. And it's 90 days. It's not like he killed her career by saying, boom, I'm firing you the first 30 days of you being the ambassador.
I have a woman staff member in her 20s, and now she's my legislative director. And she said, this is sexist, that you're treating this woman as if she has kid gloves or something, when women are just as equal as men and can do this job. Why are we treating this woman with kid gloves? It's sexist.
So you don't think, as you've listened to and you're on House Judiciary, so this is going to you. I mean, the next step on this train, the next stop is Nadler's committee. In fact, there's an argument you guys should actually be doing this right now.
Oh, most definitely.
All the testimony should be in front of the Judiciary Committee. As you see it today, and from the first day, where do you think we stand in this, given the first 2 days of testimony? Because we think this is a war of attrition that you've got to win every day.
I think the Democrats are losing, and they've been losing since day one. I am, as you said, I'm on Judiciary Committee, and since January, we've had different hearings trying to undermine President Trump. And then, of course, at first, Adam Schiff for 2 years said he had proof, evidence that Trump colluded and, coordinated with Russia. And then the Mueller report comes out and nada. Nothing. I mean, in fact, no American citizen colluded with Russia, let alone the President of the United States or anyone on his campaign. And then, of course, they switched overnight. Once the Mueller report came out, they switched overnight and said, now we've got 10 cases of obstruction of justice. And they brought in Robert Mueller and they had it up on the board. Well, that was a total flop. And so now overnight, once again, they switch it to this Ukrainian call, and there's nothing there. I encourage everyone listening, just read the transcript. There's nothing there. There's nothing impeachable there. And so they can bring up 100 people that had hearsay evidence that listened into a phone call in a restaurant through somebody else. And it does remind me of that REO Speedwagon song. I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who, come on. This is ridiculous.
You are a tough broad from Arizona. I want to go, let's talk, I want to pull up Congressman Stefanik, and let's go to this clip.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes. Ambassador Yovanovitch, thank you for being here today.
The gentlewoman will suspend.
What is the interruption for this time? It is our time.
The gentlewoman will suspend. You're not recognized. Mr. Nunes, you are minority counsel.
I just recognized.
Under the House Resolution 660, you're not allowed to yield time except to minority counsel.
The ranking member yielded time to another member of Congress.
No, that is not accurate.
You're gagging the young lady from New York.
Ambassador Yovanovitch, I want to thank you for being
Gentlewoman
here
will
today.
suspend. You're not recognized.
This is the 5th time you have interrupted members of Congress, duly elected members of Congress.
Gentlewoman will suspend.
Mr. Chair, we control the time. It's been customary of this committee that whoever controls the time can yield to whoever they wish. If we have members of Congress that have a few questions, it seems appropriate that we be able to let Ms. Stefanik ask her questions.
Mr. Nunes, you or minority counsel recognized.
That's Adam Schiff refusing to allow Congresswoman Stefanik to ask legitimate questions that she would be able to ask. But these are the new rules. These are Adam Schiff's rules.
This does not surprise me at all. This guy, I agree with President Trump. This is shifty Schiff. I mean, seriously. I mean, the guy, first of all, for 2 years, lied. Said he had proof, he had evidence that there was collusion with Russia. That turned out to be false. Then he made up that whole, he called a parody, which was just a false narrative of the conversation between President Trump and President Zelensky of Ukraine. And then the guy goes on national TV, said, no, his office didn't have any contact at all with the whistleblower. And that turns out to be false.
Do you think that's a bald-faced lie?
Oh, bald-faced lie. This guy has a history of lying and leaking. I mean, come on.
Can I just ask the question for the viewers out there who don't necessarily understand the parliamentary proceedings that take place in these committee rooms? How irregular is that for the chair of the committee to shut another member down when the ranking member on her side is giving her the time?
Yeah, this is not according to any rules. But of course, Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi have just thrown rules out the window. And so is Chairman Nadler, quite frankly. Rules are out the window. Anything goes. They have the votes, and they think they can just trample over everybody's rights. So normally, every person gets 5 minutes. Doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. And then they can yield part of their time to another member. Well, that's what happened. He shut her off. Totally wrong.
Was this in the 45 minutes, though? I'm going to say they're supposed to have allocated 45 minutes at the beginning. Was he correct in saying, hey, you got the 45, you're going to get to the 5 later? Or does Nunez, in your mind, have the ability to have somebody else ask the question?
Nunez has the ability, I think. And so, I'll go over it.
Are they intimidated by Stefanik? Is that why they didn't want her voice in there?
I don't know if intimidated, but certainly they probably want to paint a picture of men asking a woman witness and don't want the woman, to have any airtime. I mean, this is a concerted effort, not only on this, but Democrats selectively try to target Republican women candidates and throw them out.
Whoa.
They do. They spend tons of money trying to get rid of them so that they can continue this narrative that it's only, white men in the Republican Party versus women.
And I will add to that, if you don't mind. It's not just that about Elise Stefanik. She probably had the most, laser-focused line of questioning today.
Great questioning.
And that added to it. She
did great.
She was a landmine for them today.
She did great, and that's just another thing that I want to show you, that our entire caucus, Republican caucus in the House of Representatives, is united on this.
When you say united, we've been on the guys because we were saying we don't see the intensity, but you're saying you feel intensity, not just united, but everybody's focused downrange on this.
I think everyone is focused. We have caucus meetings, conference meetings. Liz Cheney's doing a good job getting out talking points. In our conference meetings, everybody seems to be very fired up. They're very mad of the unfairness that is going on. I mean, I was one of the members that stormed the Schiff, and it wasn't just Freedom Caucus members. It was other members. Republicans are mad. They're mad. This is unfair. You got Schiff there who's just doing, totally bulldozing over rules. And it's unfair to the President of the United States. It is so obvious to me that this is a political hit job. They can't stand President Trump. They're afraid he's going to get reelected. And I believe the Democrats will do anything, say anything, do anything to get rid of him because they're afraid he'll be reelected.
So to that very point, Ambassador Yovanovitch had nothing new today. It was very clear that she had no insight into anything, was not any call, no interaction with the president, that the whole thing, Devin Nunes thought his opening where basically is the same as Wednesdays, but made the point that why are we even here? Why are we doing this? So the fact that Yovanovitch had nothing new to add, I think from Republicans, the next 24 to 48 hours will be the Elise Stefanik clips playing over and over about Adam Schiff being an outright jerk. And so Republican intensity is going to be up to a 15 on a 1 to 10 scale. Where do the Democrats then go next? Because this isn't going to be a narrative that's going to last for them. They're going to have to come up with something new when they realize they keep playing this musical chairs as far as what line of attack do we go with today. Where do they go next after this dies out and they realize that it's not working?
Who knows where they go next? I mean, who would have ever thought that they would call the President of the United States some kind of Russian mole? I mean, and then they had most of the media doing their talking points on that for 2 years. We spent over $25 million in taxpayer dollars on this special counsel investigation, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 warrants, 500 interviews. I mean, what a waste of time. And, if this whole thing is a total waste of time.
And money.
American people want us to get things done. And all we're doing is this stupid.
Are you hearing that from
impeachment
are you hearing that from the people in your district in Arizona? Do they see that there actually is an opportunity cost? You're not getting USMCA done. You're not focused on Hong Kong. You're not doing prescription drugs and open. Are you starting to see that more than just from the Trump base?
Oh, yeah. People are just disgusted with Washington, D.C. And, you know, one of my congressional members said it really well. Something to the effect of President Trump promised that he would clean up the swamp. And this is a swamp striking back. You know, you have career people that have been here a long time. They don't want President Trump to shake things up. They want to do what they've always done for years. And this is what it looks like. The swamp striking back.
It's not pretty. I want you to pull up, if you can quickly, ask the next question, the Brett Baer and the Chris Wallace comments. Because if you lose Fox, afterwards there was an impromptu presser. And they had a couple people on the committee, and I think Stefanik was up there. And Mark Meadows and then Lee Zeldin jumped in, right? Who are not there, they were in the gallery, but they came up. Do you think, and we've been on Leader McCarthy on this, do you think that that this committee needs to be augmented by what we call the killers, Gates, Zeldin, Meadows? Do you see, as a member, understand there's a couple of retirees and people's noses can get out of joint, in the politics of it, do you think now, because every day you got to win, and it's a compressed part of time, right, between now and Christmas, we don't have the luxury of people's feelings, right? What do you think ought to be done here?
Well, you know, that's a hard call, I think, for the minority leader, because he has to balance looking to extreme, like replacing too many people. He already put Jim Jordan on there, who is fantastic. And so it's going to come to Judiciary Committee, and Gates is on committee,
And
Jim Jordan's, Mark isn't on there, but
he's on oversight.
Mark's going to be very outspoken. So, you know, I'm not going to second guess.
Are you going to have,
Kevin
right
McCarthy.
now, as you know it, are you going to have hearings on judiciary? Or is this going to be all the hearings and you guys going to argue through the articles of impeachment?
Well, according to the resolution that the Democrats pushed through without one Republican vote, it says that basically Schiff is going to decide what's in this report that he's going to hand over to Judiciary Committee, and then Judiciary Committee would like write up the articles of impeachment.
These are the hearings.
These are the hearings,
So
apparently.
unlike Watergate and unlike the other one, Clinton, you're not going to have judiciary.
Well,
deals.
I don't know. I mean, this is up to the Democrats, but there could be hearings, definitely. And that's the part where I think they allow the president to actually have his counsel in the Judiciary Committee. However, Nadler will have the say of what the president, you know, can do there. This is so biased.
You don't anticipate due process for the president?
No.
Raheem, Fox News. There was, I thought, kind of disturbing tweets and comments out of Fox News during the midday period.
Let's take a listen to what Chris Wallace said today.
That if you are not moved, and we'll have to wait and see what happens in the cross-examination, but if you are not moved by the testimony of Marie Yovanovitch today, you don't have a pulse. This is a woman who had served in 7 posts for presidents of both parties over more than 30 years.
If you're not moved, you don't have a pulse. And Jason, that was followed up by Brett Baer's tweet.
Yeah, and then Brett Baer chimed in saying that this was adding, when the president tweeted, that this was adding an article of impeachment in real time. And then Baer said that...
Hold on, replay that one for me. It said what?
Yep. He said that the president's tweet criticizing the former ambassador was, quote, adding an article of impeachment in real time.
This is Fox News. So, I mean, do you believe that there's an article of impeachment on witness intimidation, witness tampering?
Absolutely not. I read the tweet that President Trump did, and he just, you know, no, it's not witness intimidation at all. I mean, come on. This is getting over the top. And Chris Wallace, you know, had a few Sundays ago, he said something else too. And I put out a tweet and I said, he's biased. You know, this guy is biased. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's definitely biased. There's going to reach a point when, you know, the grassroots Republicans that are Trump supporters in my district are going to call Fox and ask him to, you know, what's up with this guy.
Well, Chris, I tell you, a couple of weeks ago on the Mick Mulvaney thing, it wasn't the Mick Mulvaney part of the interview, but at the very end, he asked Mick about where it stood, he thought, on Capitol Hill in the Senate, and Mick goes, well, I know a lot of people, and he says, well, listen, I have very good sources. and my sources say that right now 20% would vote to find guilty, which I thought was completely over the top. As much as close as we are to this, we haven't heard anything near that. So I thought that was a hand grenade right there. How important is it keeping conservative media and keeping Fox and others on point here and focused on this?
Well, I think it's important to get out our message, which is this is a total sham. And so I'm thankful to your radio show and to other conservative organizations. This is a sham, and people need to know it. And so my whole point is to try to say that over and over again. I know that there's a lot of Republican House members that are saying this and tweeting it and videotaping it and the whole bit. So we're all unified. This totally is an unfair process for the president.
We have some breaking news in the last couple of moments as well. I just
Yes.
want to make people aware of before we're out for the evening. The phone call that was supposedly overheard in this restaurant. The news coming out of
The eavesdropper,
the
the eavesdropper,
eavesdropper and the
yes.
eavesdropper 2. The news coming out of the closed door deposition today is that the phone. There's no doubt. I'm quoting Lou here. There's no doubt he overheard. End quote. And CNN is reporting that the witnesses, the eavesdroppers, are saying the phone call was so loud from the president to Sondland, to Ambassador Sondland, that the witnesses, that Ambassador Sondland had to hold the phone away from his ear, and that's how the call was overheard. So those are the things that, we caught up in the Yovanovitch thing, but this is another important thing that happened on the Hill today.
And here's what's go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, even if the president were talking to Gordon Sondland, U.S. ambassador to the EU, about Ukrainian corruption, is there a crime there? Am I missing something here? Where that's perfectly within his right as the president.
We
of the
want
United
him. I
States.
thought he was hired to
Right.
do that.
And especially when we're sending $250 million a year in aid.
$250 million.
Right. There were.
Could your district use $250 million of largest from the U.S. government?
I'm sure we could.
Here's the other thing that disturbs me about the going back down to the audition room in the Schiff for the secret thing is that they seem to me that they're trying to free up a lot of time tomorrow for OMB.
Yep.
This individual, and I don't understand how the White House counsel can put out that 8-page letter, which I thought was tightly argued, right? It had some editorial comments in there, but tightly argued. How do we still have people working in the administration, working in the EOB? How are they going up tomorrow, OMB? And obviously they wanted to get the eavesdropper, number one, up here today to free up more time for the Star Chamber tomorrow.
This comes back to Reince Priebus's point this morning about the lack of injunctions about this, and the fact that actually, while it's great to hear, Congresswoman, that your colleagues are now all laser focused in on this and taking it seriously, I don't think that was the case until about 3 weeks ago. I just don't think everybody was on the same page. I don't think everybody was treating it with the seriousness that it deserved, and I think that applies right up to White House counsel.
When Nancy Pelosi first announced it on the 24th, do you think it took time for people just to get organized, that she did have some sort of gap where they kind of ran the tables and got a little bit of the polling going their way?
I have no idea what the Democrats are thinking. I really think this is a lose-lose for them.
You think so?
Oh,
Why,
totally.
Why is that?
Totally. First of all, they're not getting anything done that the American people want to get done. And then let's say they're pushing through this impeachment thing with an unfair process. Then it goes over to the Senate during an election year. And they can talk about Hunter Biden. They can talk about Joe Biden. This is bad for Bidens. It's bad for the Democrats. I do not understand the logic.
Do you think
at
the
all.
voters will hold them accountable for the opportunity costs and the fact that they didn't get to USMCA, they didn't get to prescription drugs, opioids, all that, and they took over the Christmas and Thanksgiving and holiday season, forced a constitutional crisis on the country?
Oh, I do think so. I just don't understand the end game that the Democrats have here. I do not understand it. All I can imagine is that they hate President Trump so much and they're so concerned that he's going to get reelected that they will try anything to try to change the results of him getting reelected.
Honestly, they may knock out Biden here.
We have 1 minute left. Raheem, wrap up comments for tonight. You, Jason, and then we're going to talk about the show tomorrow.
Jason first.
Yeah, we have a big league weekend coming up. We have Jim Schultz in here tomorrow.
And Commander Zinke.
Yes.
Commander Zinke's
yep,
coming in
Commander Zinke.
from the administration.
And on Sunday, someone who I'm really excited about, David Rifkin.
Big time. Big league.
Constitutional lawyer who's had several excellent pieces in the Wall Street Journal lately. I think he's done the best job of the legal breakdowns. I encourage everyone, especially to tune in on Sunday. And then, Steve, it's national on Monday. We're up nationally on Monday.
Up nationally on both America's Voice.news and also Salem Radio.
Yeah, and it's not just Stitcher and everything else. This is Google Play, it's iTunes. We need you to subscribe, leave reviews, www.warroom.org. You can find everything there.
We get all the news about this every day on warroom.org. Congressman Debbie Lesko, want to thank you. You are a tough hombre, right? And we love having you on. We want you to come back, and particularly the feistiness. Stephen K. Bannon, War Room Impeachment, 15 November 2019.